Good day, everyone. Good day. Welcome to the Technologist Forum, where we bring you news, updates, and discussion on the latest trends in consumer and enterprise technology. I'm your host, James Hicks, and listen, I got some heavy hitters sitting behind the scenes right now. We're about to get into it. So, without further ado, let's go. So, one thing I do want to say before I bring everybody on, I want to do some logistics and a little bit of housekeeping. I expect this to be incredibly engaging. I expect this to be a lot of Q&A back and forth. And if you could help me, my moderators, I see some moderators coming into the comments, help us out by flagging your comments and your questions appropriately with the Q colon. That would help us all out. Everyone's contact information will be in the description, so you can reach out individually if you want more details on a particular subject. So, hey, come on now. Come on now. Look at the man is looking down. Why, at least look up. At least look up while we talking, bro.
I'm here. I'm here.
You here. That's true. You are here. So
On time. What's happening?
Oh, we in?
I'm here, and I was on time.
We here. We on time. I'm gonna do something, and JP up there at the top says something. We're gonna do a little experiment, and we will see how the screen works out. We are going through multiple technologies. We're going to multiple locations. Listen, we on LinkedIn, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. We on YouTube, Facebook, Amazon Live, Instagram. Listen, we everywhere, and using different encoder technologies as well. So if there's any latency, if there's any buffering, we're gonna find that out, and we're gonna get better so we can do better next time. But so do let us know if you see some issues in terms of the quality of the stream. You know, the five of us, we go in 4K. We always bring the best. So if there's any latency or any issues of that nature, let us know so we can correct that in the future. Let me shut up now because it's not about me, even though I'm in the big picture. This has been a dream come true, and just to have this type of knowledge online is something that I want to get into and start having conversations. Let me recognize folks that are in the building. Again, like I said, we got Sammy Superstar. We got some moderators in the building. We got Al here, so appreciate everybody joining in. Dustin is in the building, appreciate you. But listen, don't be doing any. Look, he's over there doing like Discord commands. He's trying to get something to happen on the stream. Don't do anything like that, brother. Okay. First conversation, first discussion, and then as we go through, and let's do this. As we go through and start talking about these conversations, you do the elevator pitch of who you are, if you don't mind, when you respond first. We're all creators. We're all content creators. Let's talk about our mindset, right? Let's talk about what the creator economy looks like today versus when we started, and kind of the mindset and the understanding of what do you value most? Do you value more watch time, or do you value more engagement? So we're all live streamers. We all go live on various platforms, and it is a difference and a different concept, different conversation. What do you value most in terms of when your community joins you, when you press record, you turn the lights on and you go live? Just the value of watch time versus engagement. Anyone start off? Don't be bashful. JP, you start.
Well, since he said he didn't want us to be
okay.
quiet.
Somebody say something. I got all these A+ winners. I got these. Somebody say so.
Go ahead, JP.
I'll go ahead and jump into that. Great question. What I personally value the most. I appreciate that. So what I value the most is community, right? Community is something that is everything to me today. And when I say community, I'm talking about a group of people that have the same mindset, right? Or trying to achieve similar goals and have the same similar drive, right? Why? Because within a community, not only we grow together, but we, strengthen each other, right? Which is something that you can't get better than that, because because if you understand anything in sales, you know that through your community, you can instantly, right, get that true conversion if you're selling anything. And your community will position you to where you want to go. They will encourage you and, put everything in place for you to be successful in everything you're doing without you having to look for millions of subscribers, because your community will be the active part of the engagement factor that you're seeking. And so that is what I value the most today. And my goal in 2024, the new year coming, is to really leverage that more than I've ever done in the past as a strategy of growth when it comes to content creation.
So let's talk about that, right? Because you have already kicked off 2023 with some big things, right? You already out here doing some massive moves. Let's talk a little bit about the influx of the JP High Tech uh, wheelhouse and what you've released. So you just released a book, right? Or you just released a book talking about this entire thing, about the business of live
Correct.
streaming, a handbook for folks to actually look at and indulge in. Talk a little bit about why you wrote that book. And then I'll get back to the other folks to answer that other question. But since you touched on it, talk to us why you felt the need to write the live stream blueprint and where you hope to bring value to other folks in the ecosystem.
Great question. Fantastic question. And I love that. When we talk about live stream, right, especially in the career economy, it is important that we, are specific in regards to the purpose of why we're actually creating content. And so the reason why I wrote this book is to help, first of all, bring clarity on the why behind the content we're creating and leveraging live stream as a, strategy to grow our businesses. And specifically, the live stream blueprint is to help creators grow their business, scale your business, because not everyone that creates content has a business. And not everyone wants to have a business, right? But here's the thing. Everyone wants to make money, which is something that you think of. You're like, okay, if you want to make money, you want to create some type of business around the content that you're creating. But how do you do that? There's a specific mindset to have. This was a specific way to approach your content creation. And there's a way to scale it if we're thinking business. So this book is specifically for the folks that are serious about making money, which is AKA creating a business surrounding the content they're creating, and have that blueprint on the right way to approach it so that they can actually establish a true, return on investment, all right, and have that influx of cash coming into their bank account. So that's what this book is all about.
My goodness. Folks, like I said, there will be links in the description to everyone's social platforms. There'll be a link to JP's book. You can pick that up. He's got paperback, he's got hardcover, and he's got the Kindle. There's no excuse. There is no excuse for you. All you need now, audiobook, but I guess it can't be an audiobook because you actually got to have
the audiobook. The audiobook will be here before Christmas, so we're working on that right now. Stay tuned, family.
Like that. Hey, have Tallboy do the voiceover. He's got the radio voice. He let him do the audio. Tallboy, let's go to you, man, with that same question about the creator economy mindset, right? Because again, you do live show every week talking about consumer electronics, consumer technology, things like that. You're attempting to drive a lot of engagement. So talk to all of us as well about your thoughts of the value of, again, watch time versus engagement as it specifically relates to your show and what you're doing.
Well, first, thanks for bringing all five of us together so we can have this conversation and showing that there are people that want to do this kind of content or create this kind of content. So just to be able to put all of us that are from all over the United States respectively on one platform, I definitely salute you on that. To answer your question, as much as we all want the watch time, as JP said, it's really all about the community. And my thing is, if you find more like-minded people and you're trying to help one another, I think that's where the real secret to the success is. The money will come, the YouTube checks will come, the sponsorships will come, but it's almost kind of like the Tyler Perry effect, right? He has a new movie that just came out, and I was watching it before we tapped into this, and it was really like, you have to have that engagement with your audience. And he was able to tap in to a certain audience that people felt like did not get him, and or that they were dismissed. It was an audience that was not heard, and he was able to tap into that audience. And it's no different from what I do with this tech show. It's like, hey, I want to simplify this technology in a language that you understand. No different from you doing your sports. No different from Steve doing retail business management, just giving tips. So it's like we want to find that creative mindset to where we can have that engagement, if that makes any sense. And at the end of the day, it's how can we be interactive? How can they feel comfortable and feeling comfortable enough to where they don't mind asking questions, no matter how smart or how dumb it is? Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to learn. So I think the engagement piece of it is probably number one, as opposed to the watch time. Unfortunately, the sponsors don't see it that way. They just look at it and say, you got to have numbers. But the engagement is where they have to understand, like, hey, if I have 50 people engaging right now and they trust my name and they trust my brand and they trust anything I put out, those 50 people are 50 sales versus having 10,000 followers and I might only get 5 sales.
You touched on something right there, right? Because you kind of let the cat out of the bag, and Steve, I'm coming to you with it, right? I want you to piggyback off of what Tallboy said, right? Because again, yeah, we can have all the people in the comments, we can have all the people doing the thing, and shouts out. We see everybody coming in. We see Lou, I see Miss Eileen, Al, I see Shirley P in the building, Tech Troublemaker. The engagement versus the watch time, right? Especially when we're looking at brand deals, especially when we're looking at working with corporate, especially when we're talking finance. Steve, you're doing a lot of that right now. You're branching out and you're doing a lot on LinkedIn Live. You get up way too early in the morning, first and foremost. I get notifications from you at like 5 o'clock in the morning, my time, that you are already live and dressed for success on LinkedIn Live. So talk to us. Piggyback off of what Tallboy was saying again about that differentiation between watch time engagement, especially when it comes to the business aspect, not just doing this as a side hustle, but doing this really from a business perspective and kind of what you have to do to be prepared for those types of things. And anyone else chime in as well.
Yeah. For me, watch time doesn't solve anybody's problem in the audience. I think engagement actually helps solve the problem. When you are connecting with the right person, we've already touched upon community. We've touched upon, making sure that we are addressing our content towards the right person. But the bigger thing I think is that the content and everything that we are doing, it needs to solve a problem. I think when live streaming was like just massive, it's been massive for a while, but of course during the pandemic, we were, myself included, I was just creating content upon content. And I don't think I necessarily, delved too deep into maybe some problem solving as much as I should have. But over the last year and a half or so, as I've kind of niched down into just focusing on senior retail leaders, the idea has been around, not so much the watch time piece, but how do I actually create content and engagement that actually helps solve a problem? While we may think that corporate America may not point, there are people, there are businesses. I've been able to develop relationships with 3 or 4 different sponsors for my podcast that actually believe in what I'm trying to do, believe in the problems that I'm trying to solve for my community. So I think the watch time, while it may be good for certain people in certain situations, I think the engagement and making sure that you are defining and actually providing the solution for the problem. Here's the other thing, and I just want to touch upon this real quick too, is that a lot of times we are helping people identify a problem that they don't even know that they have yet.
Come on.
Right. And so I think that's where the I guess the latent, ideas around engagement and around the sponsorship kind of comes into play, right? Because typically we need to have something very definitive, but a lot of times I see this a lot with my clients, is that I actually have to help them first identify the problem that they're trying to solve, and then once we're able to do that, now we can formulate a solution.
Wow, man, that's good stuff right there. Man, I love that. And I think this is going in a perfect circle, right? Because Walter, I want to ask you the same question, but in a different perspective. I want to put this comment out there. Miss Eileen says, "Hey, she needs that Audible version too, man. She's already got the Kindle. So JP, time to get on it, man. Get on that Audible version."
Appreciate you. Appreciate the love and support. Definitely is coming through.
Love it.
Thank you.
So Walt, let's ask this, because JP, Steve, Tallboy, and I, we're mainly video producers, right? Mainly video content creators, but you tend to be more on the audio side. So let's talk about that. Listen time versus engagement or downloads. What's the metric, right, from an audio podcast perspective that really drives you to be more relevant as you go out there and work with brands, as you start working with companies, as you start getting folks who you want to have advertisements, things of that nature? What's the why you smiling? So I must have hit on something. Or come on. Did I rub you the wrong way? Talk to us a little bit.
I'm smiling because you are the grandmaster. You are the grandmaster of hosting. Like, oh, y'all, take notes on everything that James is doing, y'all. This is the round of applause. Yeah. So I think that when you look at metrics, metrics really tell a story, right? And it also depends on how you're coming to it. So me personally, I'm very big on audience development. So when I'm thinking about between the two, engagement, that's the thing I'm focused on the most. And like everyone else was sharing, like watch time, listening time, it helps with just making sure you're getting money, because if people aren't really watching and getting all those ads in, the ads aren't getting the impressions that they need to get, your bag might get a little lighter. But there's another side of it, which is in the audio world and video as well. If your watch time isn't really all that great, then are people really engaging with your content? Are they watching just the first 2 minutes then jumping off? I'm in the long form content world, so whether it's audio or video, it's important. Like, we want people to listen to as much of the content as possible. In the podcast world, that average number for listening time, like how long people are listening to, is 75%. And so it's basically saying like a majority of the people are listening to most of the episode, but they're not even getting to the end. So then that determines, it's like, okay, are like post rolls, any call to actions at the end of your content, are they even getting heard, seen? Are people, do people even know what you're offering at the end of your stuff? So watch time, listening time is not even just about success metrics. It really just tells a story and helps you to understand like how your content is performing, if it's doing what you want it to do, or if you need to change some things up. Because also, like, the two really do coexist, right? Because if people aren't like watching towards the end, they're not really engaging with that last part. So I think live streamers, I think y'all do a really good job with just keeping people engaged the whole time. And in the audio world, it's a little bit different because it's not real time. So we got to find different ways to make sure people are still engaging and kind of being a part of the show.
Yeah.
It's harder for you though, right?
Yeah. Can I chime in on that listen time thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I love everything Walter said. And challenge. I'm a big fan of listening time. Sorry, go ahead, Walter.
Oh, my bad. I think we like crossing. The streams are catching up with each other. I'll say real quickly, I think when it comes to content and getting people to listen, it's a challenge because, when things are live, it's almost like an event. People are pulling up, they're setting things aside, changing their schedule to make sure they're at this event. When it comes to podcasting or really any on-demand content, people are watching or listening at their convenience. And the biggest challenge that long-form creators have is daily interruptions. The same with capturing attention. Like, I don't know if y'all, but just attention is like the thing that people are talking about. It's like one of the biggest challenges that everyone have, even short-term creators. So with podcasting, it's like, how do we make sure people are listening? If they get interrupted, it's such good content that they're going to want to come back. So yeah, it is a challenge, but what are we doing? Like, I like challenges. It's good to overcome them. It keeps us sharp.
Speaking of challenges, right? So I'm gonna be transparent, and the audience is probably seeing this, right? So we're multinational right now, and again, like I said, going out to probably 20 different platforms, and this is a good use case, and I think only for I'm gonna call it 5 experts, 5 veterans within this field to have latency, probably some issues right now with the high quality of the stream because we've got so much going on right now. This is a good testing ground really, and I'll be transparent and say, to have multiple encoder platforms to utilize and take advantage of, especially when we're trying to do something as big as this. Right, we've got California, we got Atlanta, we got Tennessee, we got I don't know where Steve is, because he's probably in the Bahamas or something right now. But again, we all over the place, and y'all know most of
I'm
us
in
here.
Bali.
I know I wasn't going to put you out there. That y'all know most of us are part of the Ecamm fam, and we love that encoder. We know that, love that platform and that technology, and that's what I'm driving this stream with. But also taking advantage of Restream and the ability of pulling one stream, going out and having that aggregate out. JP made a statement right before we went online about at 10:31. So it was too late to make a change. But if you're going to do something as large as this, as large scale as this, maybe I'm gonna have you explain it, JP, right? Because again, that may help with, again, the consumption of something like this, right, and help with some of the latency that we're seeing across the globe right now. But just talk a little bit about that, because I think other folks who are wanting to do online webinars, wanting to do online master classes live, as opposed to recorded. So a lot of that stuff is recorded. But when you're live and when you got 5 people coming in, and when you got assets and we're streaming at 2K, we're not streaming at 4K, we're streaming in 2K. But when you're streaming at that high bandwidth, right? So talk a little bit about the concept that you thought about, JP, in terms of correcting some of these latent issues that we're having.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be more than happy to help. Folks, you guys know, each person on this panel. Just go to our YouTube channels. We don't play with broadcast quality. Things happen. This is a live stream, and we're all learning from this, right? And so what happens a lot of times is whenever you're broadcasting, especially if you're using a level 4 encoder. Level 4 is a software like Ecamm, right, for Mac users. And so you have that downloaded locally on your computer. And now all the guests that are on the screen right now called into the show by calling directly onto one specific computer. So a local hard drive is pulling all the string for all destinations. So the problem that happens is not only all the guests are calling in locally, then you're using that to broadcast out. So you're bringing people in from different resolutions, different parts of the world, right? Mm-hmm. You have to handle that and have a stable connection from there. Then you want to broadcast it out. And what's happening right now is that each one of us, we're piggybacking on your broadcast to show it to our community. So if you go to my channel, you see that this stream is live there. You go to Steve's and all of that, Walter, you name it. So the solution here, in order to avoid the latency that's happening, is to allow your local hard drive to breathe. So instead of all the guests calling in directly, locally, have them call on the web, because the web is not local. So your computer is not struggling to process hard drive, right? The GPU and CPU working at the same time to display a high quality image. So now on the web, using a solution like Restream, we can call in. Now you can still have the high quality image from your encoder, Ecamm, using virtual camera, right? That we all use, and we display at a same high quality resolution on the web, but the web now shares it out, and we do not have that latency issue anymore, and everything's just smooth, and you don't have to freeze up or anything like that. So that will be the approach to take versus holding everything internally, locally. Even though I don't understand, whenever you do on the web, you may not have certain things like isolated audio, isolated videos. But again, you need to weigh the pros and cons and see what matters the most. And for me, what matters the most is for the communities, right, to receive the conversation in a smooth manner versus you having an isolated recording locally, because that's also something that might be causing issues when you have to record on your hard drive at the same time.
Yeah. And so listen, appreciate you. So JP has gone through this. I've been on a stream of his that he's hosted, and I've watched streams where he's had these issues, but he's been able to, he's faster than I am, right? He was able to do some things on the fly and correct that. So these gentlemen to the left of me speak from experience. So take that knowledge, take that insight, because again, We've fallen down, just like I said in the IG post yesterday, folks that have fallen down and gotten back up. We've gone through this before. JP has gone through this before and has found a way to correct this particular situation in this incident. So again, just wanted to say that in all transparency, so you guys know.
What I appreciate, James,
Yeah.
what I appreciate, James, is you tearing some ish up. So I think a lot of folks don't understand that the only way that we can be better is if you test it out. And I mean, real talk. I mean, the only way you can be better is if you test it out. You never
100%.
know what the capabilities are until you
100%.
actually push the limits. And the fact that you're pushing the limits, you're seeing what can be done, what can't be done. Okay, how do I make it 2% better for the next stream? But at the same token, we're gonna try this out. We appreciate everybody that's watching and engaging with us, because we got some gems, some jewels that we're trying to drop to you. But at the same token, nobody else is out here trying to do what we're doing right now. There's nobody out there saying, can we get 8 people on a screen? Can we get 5 people? Can we get 20 people? Ain't nobody out there doing that.
That's about to be my next my little audio clip right there. Ain't
push
nobody
the
doing
limits.
Well, it's funny. Well, it's funny.
And then on
we
top
gotta
of
push
that,
the limits. But here's
we're
the
gonna make this work.
Walter
And
was
even if it don't work, we got it.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm loving this because
we stepping on each
this
other a
is
little
like
but
you're very transparent and people are learning. People are
Walter
learning.
was with me. Well,
I'm turning it over to you, Steve.
Yeah, man. Well, Walter was with me a few years back. Yeah, Walter was with me a few years back when I was doing this live streaming thing. Him and my buddy over in the UK, and it wasn't so much a latency issue; it was a weather issue. The weather kept knocking out the power at my place, and and every time I got back on live, Walter and Jamie was like, I think it took us 3 tries for us to finish. And they stuck with me the entire time. They were like, hey, I was like, hey, I'm sorry about this. They were like, no, let's go. Let's do this. Then we get 10, 15 minutes in, boom, power went out. Power came back on. They were right there. And what I mean, and where I want to tell the story is because it happens to the best of us, and we all have to learn how to kind of learn and manage through and lead through this process. But more importantly, you want to make sure you have people in your corner. You want to have a really good board of directors, if you will, that will ride or die for you as you continue to kind of go through your content creation and leadership and your business journey with you as well.
Yeah, listen, that's the truth right there. And back to what Tallboy was saying, I'm gonna pitch it over to Walt, but it's really that shirt that you got on, loving new growth. It's, right, again, no one else is doing this to the extreme, so we are doing the new growth. So Walt, chip in on what you had to say, because I know you had some comments that you wanted to engage with as well.
Yeah, well, this is part of what Tallboy was saying, and then just everything as well. Like I think something that I've noticed that's missing at a lot of different conferences and learning events is like the next level conversation, and usually that happens in group chats within different creators. Like we're just testing stuff for now, like yo, this is messing up. How do I fix this? Like all those conversations on how to take it from like the just starting information to the all right, let's trying to boss up. That stuff happens in private. But James, you're taking this in public. It takes the whole build in public thing that Steve always talks about. You're like, okay, this is what I'm testing. This is what I'm pushing. So everyone gets to experience it as well. So like when people are watching and they're trying stuff for the first time, when stuff they're messing up, it's not just them, it's everyone. We're all learning, experiencing, testing, failing, winning, all this stuff. So I'm just loving this. This is a really dope platform.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. And for
I'm gonna take it back. I'm gonna take it back a little bit more, James.
Oh my God, I'm
gonna take it back a little bit.
He ain't done.
More because no, I ain't done yet. No, we gonna go get a good laugh out of this. No, we ain't done yet. There was a time James and I had an actual show, and we promised ourselves that we were gonna learn respectively Ecamm and vMix, and we literally had there was no manual for this. There was no book that JP had out when we first started. We literally had to get out there and figure this. Hit the button, James. Hit this out. We had to figure it out, right? So because we had to figure it out, I mean, we've gotten better. We've mastered it. But then at the same token, we like to push the limits, and that's what we're doing. And for the people that are watching, I definitely salute you for bearing with us And James is only going to make it better. But I remember when we first started, we didn't know, and we were trying to figure it out. And then look at where we are today in 2023.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, it's all good, man. Let's continue to move forward because honestly, we are the biggest critics. I can guarantee you that the folks listening or watching are saying, "Stop tripping, y'all. Stop." I mean, you bring in value. You're having a great conversation, right? We are our biggest critics, right? Because I see 100% of what's going on in front of the scene and behind the scene, and I know JP. Goodness gracious, I know his mind is on fire right now, just with all the stuff he's doing. So I'm not even worried about that. But let's move on to the next subject, man, because I want to ask you guys about this. Again, creators in this ecosystem, in this environment, in today's world, today and tomorrow's world. So just saw a story that came out about YouTube that's going to start requiring creators to start disclosing their use of generative AI technology. Look, generative AI is all over the place. There's pros and cons. It's an end all to be all. It helps with workflow. I'm gonna chop this up after we're done and turn it into probably 20 or 30 micro pieces of content and then publish out 3 or 4 of them. We use it really to take minutes out of our workflow and out of our schedule. Now, one of our primary platforms is saying, listen, okay, that's all good. It's all good. But if you're going to use I'm not going to mention any names because there's so many of them. But if you're going to use a generative AI tool to help you with this content delivery, you're going to have to let folks know, right? You're going to have to disclose that. Let's talk about that. JP, go into your thoughts about.
Hold up, James. Before you do that, Before you do that, James, can you explain what generative AI is, so the people who may not know, they have an idea. So when we start this conversation, they're not lost in the sauce.
Good point there. Listen, look at the host over there. Host with the mostest. Generative AI is an algorithm, is really some technology that allows you, the user, to input a prompt into a system and have new content come out based on that prompt. So you can tell something like a ChatGPT, something like a Perplexity.ai. These are some different platforms that feed off of the same neural network to say, write me a story about how content creators can make money in 2024. These generative AI platforms will go out and they're essentially digital encyclopedias. And they've got the wealth of knowledge of the internet at their disposal, and you can have access to that information instantaneously, not just from a textual perspective, not just from a visual perspective, but from a complete summarizing of that prompt that you put in. So if I tell ChatGPT to write me a story about content creators succeeding, how they can succeed in 2024, it will literally write out the entire paragraph, the entire sentence, and actually allow me to expand on that initial prompt. So it really is talking human language, talking conversational language to a computer algorithm, and then getting a result out of that. So giving a computer algorithm a prompt, and that prompt generating new content. Boom. I'm gonna record that too. Because I'll never be able to repeat what I just said. So I can't remember everything. JP, go into it, brother. Talk
Cue in sound effect.
All right, family, let's go ahead and jump into this in regards to generative AI. So the use of AI has taken over a lot of industries right today. And whether you're an author, a blogger, a regular content creator, a YouTuber, a teacher, you have students in college, that are complaining that their professors are docking their papers, saying that they're running through an AI detection tool and it came out 100%. Now, at the same time, what's happening, if you follow the news a lot, is that a lot of those AI detection solutions will take a paper that I wrote. My wife, she's a college professor, that she wrote. I put it through, and then it's coming out telling you, oh, that was written by an AI. No, that paper was written 10 years ago when this was not even existing, right? And at the same time, you have a paper that was a document that was completely generated by ChatGPT, and it's saying, oh, that's 100% human, 60% and all that. Listen, folks, We live in a world today where it's getting harder and harder to determine what was generated, right, by artificial intelligence and what's not. Now, here's what's happening. If you ever wrote a book, right, I've learned that when I released my book, that also Amazon also asked the same question that YouTube is asking. Was any part of your document, right, written by an artificial intelligence? Because you have those people that have entire book written, spit out by that. And so you have to answer. And Amazon, knowing that they have the technology, right, and the money to back it up, they have a tool to run your document through that. And either they will block it and remove you permanently from the platform, because it takes them a time to approve your document before you can even distribute it, right? And so this is what I would tell people. We have to be ethical in everything we're doing, right? Regardless of the technology, we have to be ethical. Meaning, if you're not an astronaut and you just, generate an entire document to teach people the story of how to become an astronaut or how to do certain things, and you yourself have no expertise in the subject matter, that's not being ethical. That's a problem there. The thing is, using the artificial intelligence, right, to help us in the things that we do better. For example, whenever I use generative AI, is to generate, right, bullet points on ideas that I'm thinking about already. And then looking at, okay, you have 5 points there that I didn't think about. Now let me write on that. Why? Because right now we can jump and talk about my book I wrote, every single chapter. I can talk about it with my eyes closed. But if I don't know the subject matter, if I'm not an expert in it, then, well, you already know what that means, right? That's a problem there. The second thing is we have a newer generation that's coming in and that's loving this and saying, oh, this makes their life easy. Well, at the same time, what that is doing is taking away your ability to actually think, because whenever we think, we analyze, we do a better job than the encyclopedia that is in this artificial intelligence, because it's pulling data already available, right, to give you a script or a prompt. Well, you may have something that's not even available yet. You may think of something, you're a genius because somebody came up with the electricity. Somebody came up with the plane. Somebody came up with the use of the phone, right? iPhone and all, you name it. If it's not there, how can he tell you what's not there? So we got to keep creating, keep innovating, and leveraging this to help us do what we do best.
My goodness. Don't be afraid of the technology. Take advantage of it and use it. Steve, come on, man. You got something to say. I know you do. You always got something to say. Because I know you use a lot of Gen AI tools as well, right? So I would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah. Oh yeah, from a video standpoint, and being able to create the actual, like, say, mothership of the video, and then utilizing generative AI to kind of cut up the video and things along that line. That's never been an issue. That's never been an issue for me. Nor has, like, using the idea around ChatGPT, where everybody's kicking out tons and tons of content right now based off of and utilizing that. The bigger thing is that it's about alignment. It is about alignment of who you are and what you say, not so much just what you write. If people are reading something from a blog post or or a post, and then let's say I potentially get a client from that, and then I'm having a conversation with me, there has to be an alignment with what I put out there with actually who I really am. And then being on opportunities and situations like this, right? Now people can actually see the real Steve, and now they can go back and actually see with whatever it is that I'm talking about. Does my content align with that? Which is why I do the live streams on Monday morning, and then of course on my podcast, and then 11 a.m.s on LinkedIn Live, right? Because those are platforms where there is no AI. This is Steve connecting and engaging and talking. And so I think if you are going to use a tool like that, you need to make sure that the digital lines up with the humanity of who you are. Because I firmly believe that there is going to be this is sort of like a reckoning, if you will, with YouTube actually talking about this. I believe that you're going to start to see a lot more like LinkedIn. You're going to talk about, even though they use AI, I think they're going to start policing posts. I think that's going to happen over time. Well, all these posts are created by ChatGPT or whatever the case may be. That's why I always feel like the alignment piece of the digital with the humanity is so important, because there's going to be so much content that is going to be placed out there in the ethos. I think the intimacy that you need to connect with yourself and your audience and your community is probably going to be even more important.
My goodness, this man is talking like a professor. He's talking about the intimacy of the connection. Y'all follow Steve Worthy. All right, y'all follow Dr. Worthy over there talking. I appreciate you, man. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I tell you what, let's be cognizant of time. I want to ask you guys one last question, and then we can call it the day, and then we can do some things on the back end on the infrastructure to make sure that next week is even more successful. I want to ask you guys about strategies. Right. Again, it's around that time where we start talking about resolutions. We start talking about what we want to do, how we want to grow, how we want to get better. It's at the end of the year, and we always want to start January either in shape physically, mentally, spiritually. Come on now. Oh Lord, we about to get it from all aspects of our lives. So strategies to level up kind of your content and your production for the new coming year. Let me ask you guys about that. And Tallboy, I'm gonna start with you, because I know you are always working on some things, and I know January is a big month for you. So let's start with you, man. So strategies that you are going to use and you can share to bring some value to level up your content and your production, and then how that translates to your community as well.
I guess for me, I'm stubborn. I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. I'm stubborn. I'm not trying to get over here on this TikTok because I don't like this vertical content. But those clips that you be pushing out, man, they be looking extra crispy. I'm just gonna tell you what it is. It look crispy. But for me, that's just not where I'm at. But I am finding other platforms that align with me, such as a fan base, LinkedIn. So places that I normally would not post my content, I'm finding those areas to where I can now reach a new audience, as opposed to, and I know I'm being stubborn. I need to be over there. I promise myself I'm going to create at least one post before Thanksgiving on TikTok. Lord help me when I get there. But at the same token, I'm looking at how I can still continue to be creative. I'm a creative. That's me. So there's some strategies where I'm looking at how can we possibly do animation, as opposed to just a talking head here. So that's kind of like some strategies that I'm looking at. And then I'm also looking at saying, how can I, do more instead of just a weekly show, and maybe pop out micro content just on a weekly basis or on a daily basis, as opposed to just a weekly show. So I think that's kind of like where my strategies are. I don't like to really give out my gameplay, but since you put me out there on Front Street, I can go ahead and, this is kind of where I'm thinking. Now I have to master it. I have to figure it out. But at the same token, my thing is I've always been ahead of the curve, and people are not ready for this, for what I'm putting out as far as my community. They're not ready for it. So when I do introduce it to them, I always hear people say, man, you were doing that back in, man, you were the first person I know that did this. So I'm always looking at seeing what's next. You and I were talking about a certain platform that can take the ums out of our sentences on our video streams. And, it's like, how can I make myself a little bit better with micro content? And my thing is, it's time to probably invest into that. So it's, how do I make myself 2% better each and every single time I put something out? So that's kind of where I'm at.
I love that. Let me ask this, and JP, I'm gonna go to you next, because Tallboy mentioned something that I think fits in your wheelhouse as well. But I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper, Tallboy. I'm gonna open the scab just a little bit. You mentioned a platform like Fanbase, right? And there's a lot of legacy platforms that are out there, right? There's TikTok, there's Snapchat. That's where the kids are. I can't mess with Snapchat, but we got Spill out here as well, right? We got the up and coming X replacement. So we got fan base, we got Spill, we've got TikTok, we've got legacy ones like Facebook and Instagram and things of that nature. What makes you choose where to spend your time? You got Clubhouse, right? Clubhouse just came out the woodwork and just blew up and then started to fall off. So why fan base has been the one that you have put your stake in the ground with, as opposed to some of these other platforms that are out there?
Well, for me, multiple reasons. One, it's if you see the story of who created fan base
Mm-hmm.
and you learn the background of it, it's something that resonates with me. Second, it's somebody that's saying, you know what, I'm willing to allow you to invest and you can get a piece of the pie when this thing hits, because it's going to hit. And if you look at the trajectory of what these other platforms have done, well, I've made my initial financial investment, and I would like to be able to say I own a piece of this and I am an owner. So knowing that I own something, and I think that's the biggest key. We see what's happening to X right now. This thing could be gone in the next 36 months.
Yeah.
And then it's like they could be a has-been. So my thing is all about ownership. So for me, tall boy, I can't speak for anybody else on this panel. I need my ownership, because there's going to be a time that I'm going to want to sell this off. And when I sell it off, I want to be able to know that I own 100% of it. So however I can own, whether it's me having my own Roku and Amazon channel, whether it's me having my own website and pushing the content there, me having my own merch, whatever it may be, I want to know that I own it, as opposed to saying I need a distributor or I need somebody. I'm just banking on myself. And I think fan base is the one that says, hey, we have these audio rooms. So now guess what? Clubhouse now had an issue. We started having a migration of people from Clubhouse come over here to fan base, because that was the only other platform that would allow them to continue to somewhat do what they were doing over there at Clubhouse. But once again, you look and see fan base is allowing you to get paid off of your content. You can post your content, you can interact with people in the audio rooms, and it has all the features that all these legacy platforms have, but they've only said, you know what, this is us. And to me, I'm not saying I'm over there every day, but what I am going to say is when I find myself over there and I'm saying I'm going to give it 20 minutes worth of my time, I ended up giving myself 2 hours worth of my time that day. So, but that's the fact that there's something that's over there that keeps me there versus some of these other platforms.
Man, see, and you went into the story of the ownership piece. You went into the story of it resonates with you, resonates with your community, and the fact that you're not trying to be like everyone else. You can't go out there and try to copycat. You are doing you, and if it succeeds, it'll succeed to your criteria as opposed to the criteria of someone else. So I love that piece right there. So appreciate you for sharing that. And perfectly, I wanted to again segue over to JP, because listen, the man is streaming probably right now this on Instagram and TikTok, on his own Roku channel, on all these platforms, and you own those platforms. So talk to us a little bit again about what you already have today from that wheelhouse, and then what kind of strategies you're going to put and implement into the next coming year, right? How is that going to blossom out? Because you just started doing the TikTok and the IG lives, right?
That is correct. So love the question, family. Love the question. So the thing is that it depends on your target audience. I know you've asked Tall Boy a minute why specific platform versus the other. And when I speak with my clients, I always tell them, hey, the platform, your primary platform that you're choosing has to do with your target audience. Where are they? Where are they spending most of their time, especially from a business standpoint, so you can keep serving them, right? Because if they don't know you exist, how can you service them? But they need your product and services. They need your help. Right. And so one of the I specifically help creators. Right. And talking about creators, one of the places that they spend a lot of their times, right, are on TikTok and Instagram. OK. And so one of the main strategies that I'm including into the way being visible to them so I can help them